Hello and welcome to the latest video and podcast from Fantasy Football Scout as we use the international break to take stock of the season so far and look ahead to Fantasy Premier League Game Week 13. We'll do this via the goals and assist imminent tables, which use the Fantasy Football Scout members area stats to try and predict future returns, and today we'll see how last week's tables did. We'll also focus on attacking defenders with some familiar and expensive names coming back into our thinking. Our early thoughts for Game Week 13 will also be revealed on the back of a strong Game Week 12 for both of us. In addition, we'll take any questions you have at the end of the stream, so have a think about those and post your questions in the live chat at the end. My name is Joe, and joining me to unearth some of those under the radar gems and remember who the top strikers are and the top attacking defenders are this season is Tom Freeman, Fantasy Football Scout's deputy editor. Tom, welcome. How are you?
Yeah, I'm good, thanks, Joe. Yeah, Game Week 12 was much better, wasn't it? Lots more points around, which we'd hoped for the week before when we discussed our teams, and it came to fruition. And we've now got a bit of a breather, obviously, the international break. But yeah, we're already starting to look ahead towards Game Week 13. I've got a couple of free transfers. I think you've got a bit of a dilemma with your team as well, Joe. So it'll be good to talk it all through.
Yeah, definitely. Just before we move on, just to welcome all those joining us early in the live chat. Dennis, Eunice, Rixia, Heather, Chris, Rodrev, Joshua, Brad, and many more. Thanks so much for joining us. Do remember to press that like button. It does help us out. And do remember to subscribe if you're not already. And if you're listening back or watching back, do press that like button. And also do remember to subscribe so you can keep up to date with all our latest videos and podcasts. I mentioned just now about remembering who the top strikers are. That was a focus of last week, but I've got a little table to show how we did there. So the situation was Game Week 11 was absolutely pants, and lots of people were going on tilt and were making rash moves. I'm going to get rid of everyone, and we were sort of trying to calm it down a bit. And ahead of Game Week 12, we were saying there's some good fixtures coming up. And just remember who the top strikers are. Just remember who's going to score goals. And if you've already got these players, don't get them out. Don't move them out. And these are the players to consider. Just sort of taking it back to basics, really. And this is how we did. So we did pretty well, I think. There was 3 were injured, so didn't play. So we couldn't do anything about that. Isaac, Wilson and Nketiah. We knew that Isaac wouldn't be back. But Wilson and Nketiah were sort of new injuries there, but pretty much returns from most of them, really. Haaland, we remember him. We're reminding people that he was good. He scored 2 goals, 16-point haul. Jackson is actually doing well in terms of expected goals, and he's got 4 goals in the last 2 matches. So not bad against Spurs and City. So he scored against City. Watkins, remember him? Don't move him, although I'm considering it maybe at some point. He scored as well. Darwin Núñez could have scored, obviously, about 1 million goals and got an assist. Isaac injured. Wissa and Anil Mapay were our only blanks, really, because Solanke came in with 2 goals. And we even got a return from Alvarez. Remember him? So we just say, if you got him, keep him. Good fixture. And he came in with an assist. So looking at this list, really, Tom, does that back up the principle of don't overcomplicate things and just get strikers who score goals?
Yeah, it's why you look at season-long data, isn't it? Rather than just focusing sometimes on smaller samples, which can be a bit risky. They're at the top for a reason. And I think Darwin was a bit unlucky not to get a goal and kind of add to the top 3 there with a strike, because he had a couple disallowed at the weekend, didn't he?
Yeah.
So, they're all good options. Isak, be good to get an injury update on him. He was rumoured to be back after the international break, but I haven't heard anything since. I think Wilson's going to be out for a number of weeks now, so he could become an option too. And really good to see Solanke deliver as well, because he's not a cool name, is he, Solanke, to own? Nobody was really looking at him last week, and I understand that because they were playing a Newcastle side who are generally very good defensively, but they look much better on Saturday evening, Bournemouth. Big result for the manager, who had been under real pressure. And maybe now Solanke might start to appear on a few more people's radars with the fixtures coming up.
Well, indeed, it could do in Game Week 13, because Bournemouth play Sheffield United in a week where Liverpool Man City play, and we have the return of the captaincy video this week. We're going to be recording that shortly after this, so that will go out during the week to look at, because captaincy is up in the air, and Solanke on the back of 2 goals against Sheffield United could emerge as one of the leading captaincy candidates this week.
Yeah, it's completely wide open for captaincy. I agree. We haven't had a week like this for a long time, I don't think. And suddenly now we're kind of looking round at these mid-price options who we've never really considered before this season, players like Solanke and Bowen and things like that. So it should be good to have a look at those numbers and see where we're, there's still a week to go, but good to get some early thoughts on it.
Definitely. Okay, so we did well there with our strikers. Recommended. I mean, hard not to, really. We just simply recommended the best players in the game, kept it nice and simple. And they all delivered because they all had good fixtures. Well, in the main, had good fixtures. So it's a sound bit of advice: get good players in with good fixtures. But we went for that daring strategy last week, and it paid off. Let's have a look at our goals imminent table from last week. See how we did. Well, we did okay. We did okay for this as well. So this is based the goals imminent table, which we'll show next week's one for Gameweek 13. We'll do that for next week, just in case there's any international break injuries. We'll keep that nice and up to date for next week. But we'll look back at the goals imminent tables for last week to see how we did and see whether any of these players are worth keeping. So we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 returns out of our lot here, and this is based on the last 4 game weeks. They have to have had at least 9 shots over those 4 game weeks, but if they've scored more than 1 goal, they're off the table in a good way. If they fail to get the necessary XG stats for this table, they drop off in a bad way. But so first up is Nunes. He's got an assist last week, could have scored more. Liverpool unfortunately face Man City next, but then they do face Tottenham. We're still with their defensive injury crisis, game week 14. Then they got Villa, Luton, Crystal Palace. Sorry, I'll rephrase that. I was looking at Man City's fixtures there. With Liverpool, they've got Man City next. Then, from game week 14, apologies, they've got Fulham at home, great fixture. Sheffield United, Crystal Palace, who've just shipped a number of goals against Everton, and then Manchester United. These are great fixtures for a Liverpool attacker. But I guess Nunes might actually be arrested game week 13, but you probably wouldn't want to play him against City anyway. Nunes, he looks like quite a long-term hold, really, looking at those fixtures going forward.
Yeah, he's made a real impact this year, hasn't he? I think he's a don't buy, don't sell this week. I think if you own him, you obviously want to keep him. There's risk in game week 13, given that Uruguay, I think they're playing Argentina and then Bolivia in the match next week, which is the concerning one because we've seen it in game weeks 5 and 9 when he's got back late from international duty. He's been benched on both occasions. So it's not a given that'll happen, given the magnitude of this game. He could well start, but I think if you're eyeing him up, it's certainly probably safer to wait until game week 14 when they play Fulham. They've got Sheffield United after that. So I think they're really good fixtures for Liverpool. I think he's one of the top strikers to own. It's just the timing of it. And when you do it, but great option.
Yeah, I mean, in terms of, I like to play a price points game, which may mean, as we'll discuss a bit later, I might have to miss out on at least one of those good midfielders. There's so many who are all very similarly priced, so I might have to miss out on one. But one move I am eyeing up is removing Watkins at some point. Because, yes, he's got Tottenham away in game week 13, which is okay, but considering Tottenham's defence. But Watkins, just looking at Watkins then has Bournemouth away, game week 14, nice. But then Man City, Arsenal and Brentford. Now, why am I mentioning Watkins when we're talking about Darwin Nunes is because, as we've mentioned about Darwin Nunes, Liverpool faced Fulham, Sheffield United, Crystal Palace, during that sort of period when Watkins' fixtures sort of stiffen up a bit, especially with that City and Arsenal games. The plus with holding on to Watkins and not switching to Darwin Nunes, though, is game week 18. So Liverpool do have Arsenal in game week 18, so it's not a great fixture, whereas Aston Villa have Sheffield United at home, which is pretty much as good as it gets. So you probably want to get Watkins there. So I think if you looking at transfers and looking at Watkins, who's next on the list with his goal, we've mentioned him already, a move from Watkins to Darwin Núñez, sort of game week 15-ish, and then perhaps back to Watkins, game week 18 could be good. Or just take your medicine, take your pick, whichever one, and then just go with them. But I do think that could be a sound policy. You might get really good returns from that one slot in your team.
Yeah, if you've got the transfers to do that, you haven't got other priorities. The more I think about it with my own team, the more I think he is a long-term hold for me, Watkins. Yeah. And it's simply because the two matches against City and Arsenal are really tough, but they're at least at home, and they're at least at Villa Park, where we've won, I think, 13 Premier League games in a row. I don't think we're going to beat City or Arsenal, but I certainly think we can score against them. And then it's that Sheffield United match, and then 2 weeks after that, it's Burnley at home as well. So you're getting two really good home fixtures. So, yeah, I think if your team is very well set up, I don't mind that little switch to Darwin to capitalise on that good run for Liverpool and then back. But I think I might, in my own team, I think I might have other areas to work on. And I think Watkins, the consistency he's showing, he's just feels like a long-term hold. Missed a sitter at the weekend, but scored as well. He's going to get chances. He's the main man there. And I think he'll just have a very, very good season. Yeah,
chances are I won't make that move, but I could. It would be the optimal move, I think. But the other thing about Watkins, I mean, a bad week for Watkins, for owners, is just comes away with an assist in a good performance from Villa, and you think, oh, okay. But, 5 points, 6 points each week, it all adds up.
Yeah, which is how he started the season, wasn't it? And a lot of people sold him, but he was returning. He was getting those 5 points, and he was continually doing that. People removed him, I think, before Brighton, and then he went big. But looking back on it, that can, assists aren't anything to be frowned on. If your players are delivering each week in some form, and they had a big haul every now and again, he's one of the very best to own, Watkins. So I think he's probably a hold for me.
Okay, Zaniola is in between Darwin and Watkins there, but we're going to sort of sketch over him really because he's just a rotation risk at the moment with Bailey. Yeah. There, he's just not going to play. Jota as well is a bit of a rotation risk. He did score. But Diaz is back now. His dad was released from captivity, so Diaz should be the regular starter on the left. Obviously, you will see a bit of rotation, but it really will be pretty much Darwin up front, Diaz and Salah supporting him, and Gakpo is also there as well. But Jota, it's just too much of an injury, too much of a rotation risk, isn't he, Jota? Which
feels that way.
Yeah.
I mean, Gakpo just did play in midfield at the weekend. So they played four attackers, but Darwin and Salah are the ones there. Too much risk with Jota and Diaz, I think.
Yeah. Solanke we mentioned, just to remind people, he's got Sheffield United next, which could be a good captaincy shout. He then has Aston Villa at home, Crystal Palace away. These are good fixtures. Manchester United away, also a good fixture at the moment. Luton at home, even better. Nottingham Forest away, Fulham at home, and then Tottenham away in game week 20. So the next flurry of fixtures, Solanke's prime for investment. I think if you want to have three strikers up front, or you want you're in the mood to sort of upgrade, perhaps Ferguson or Pedro, one of those cheaper strikers. Solanke, I think, would be one of my top picks at the moment, really, just with those fixtures and form. He scored 6 goals this season, very quietly being good.
Yeah, he's scored the same amount as Watkins, hasn't he? He's got 6 as well, which is kind of crazy when you think about it. But I mean, we said last week that he would be, I think we mentioned him and Ferguson. Now, Ferguson got the back injury, which we didn't know about, but I think they were the two in that price point, which were the most appealing. Yep. And Solanke gets more appealing now, that Newcastle game, which he did well in, but that was putting us off him a bit. But now that's out the way. The fixtures are really, really good. Bournemouth, they made some changes at the weekend. They played Kluivert, they played Semenyo, and I thought they looked good. I mean, this was a patched up Newcastle side, wasn't it? But even so, I think there was kind of promising elements of Bournemouth's play. And it's a great run. It's arguably better in a few weeks when they play Luton, Forest and Fulham, but still that Sheffield United is a good fixture for them. So yeah, I like him a lot.
Bournemouth coming into a bit of form as well, which is no surprise the fixtures are turning. And also with the way Bournemouth are playing as well, yes, they might concede, but they are attacking, they're scoring goals. But yeah, with these fixtures here, I think they could get a few wins here. I think this could be good. And Bournemouth do look better than they did earlier this season. So some of those stats that, indeed we'll put up on various videos as well, could be a little bit out of date. We might be having to start to look at sort of last 4 weeks or so with Bournemouth to get a more accurate picture of them.
Yeah, they had a very tough run at the beginning of the season, didn't they? Yeah. So they're coming out of that now. And I was quite impressed by them on Saturday evening.
Okay. Next up, we've got Alexander-Arnold. Didn't deliver with a goal here. And we're going to mention him in a bit more detail in a bit. So we'll sort of sketch over him. But we're looking at attacking defenders. I personally am in the market for a defender. Possibly I can't afford Alexander-Arnold. In fact, definitely I can't. But it's worth a mention. Kuna at Wolves. All season we've been trumping the Wolves players. Even with Neto, the creative force gone, they've still got the players. They can still win games. And incredibly, see, I was away at the weekend, so I briefly heard that Porro had got me an assist in my team and Spurs were up 1-0, and it was like that until about 80-something minute. I thought, oh, that's fine. That's good. I'm getting a Porro haul here. And next thing I know, looking back at the score, they lost. So obviously Wolves have still got it, and Tottenham are still Spursy. So Kuna, they're finding a way, even without Neto, aren't they, Wolves?
Yeah, they've been posting quite good attacking numbers all year. They've been taking a lot of shots under Gary O'Neill, which is why they keep appearing on these tables for us. We've had Lamina on there at various points, and Hwang as well, who's now obviously scoring so many goals he's dropped off. But Cunha, I mean, I'm not completely convinced by his finishing ability. No. I think I'd prefer Hwang, and I think I'd prefer Neto at Wolves. But they've got a good fixture at Fulham next, who are going to be without Palhinha, who's suspended. Yeah. Now, we'll speak about it maybe on the captaincy video, but when Palhinha is missing for Fulham, it makes a big difference. So if you own any of the Wolves attackers, it's a really good fixture in game week 13.
Okay, just to welcome those more that have joined us in the live chat. A few questions popping up. Do sort of remember them, sort of copy and paste them, put them towards the end back into the live chat, because we're going to have a live Q&A session with you all there. So we'll focus on that there. So lots of good questions there. And I also want to welcome Sumit, who joins us from Kathmandu in Nepal. So that's great. Somewhere I'd love to go. Never been. And obviously, needless to say, it looks amazing in Nepal. So you're lucky for living there. Okay, let's keep moving down this list. So Willian, Fulham didn't deliver, but Fulham were okay. He's just one of those. He's not going to get a look in our teams really. So I'll sort of sketch over him. Crystal Palace. Eze's back now. Elise is fit again. So does that mean Jordan Ayew still plays, or is he still?
He could do.
He could do.
Yeah, he could do. Yeah, he could still play because Eze has kind of been more through the middle. Olise would take up that right wing spot, which might see Ayew move to the left, and then Edouard through the middle. So he could still play, but suddenly he's gone from probably the best midfielder at Palace with other players out to suddenly being like the third best behind Eze and Olise. But it's good for Palace that those players are back, and Ayew might even benefit from that because obviously you've got that creativity back in the team again. Disappointing loss at the weekend, but you'd expect them to do okay.
And Edouard a good choice as well, especially because they're in the midst of this good fixture run. So they've got Gameweek 13, they've got Luton next. That's great. It is away though. And Luton are a bit better at Kenilworth Road. But then they got West Ham away, good fixture. Bournemouth at home, good fixture. And then it stiffens up a bit, Game Week 16, when they got Liverpool, Man City, Brighton, Chelsea and Brentford. So it gets much tougher. So it's a short-term move, really. But Eze, Edouard, Ayew, whoever you can afford, there should be some attacking points there. they may concede. I don't know whether the introduction of more of those attacking players made them more attacking and less defensive, but that's possibly the case against Everton, who it's hard to judge. But Everton, I think I said on the team news game that Everton Palace game, it screams a Decore goal. That was it. It was because Decore was a slight injury down. And I said it just screams Decore goal. And indeed it was.
I think the fact Everton got a very early goal in that maybe opened it up more than if it had gone for the first 20, 30 minutes and it was goalless. But yeah, Palace, when they've got Eze and Olise, we just have to remember at the end of last season how well they played going forward. So whatever we previously thought about Palace, our perceptions might need to change now they've got everybody back. Because I think that even playing Liverpool and Man City and teams like that in a few weeks, I think if they've got all of those players fit, I'd still expect them to score in those games.
Yeah. Definitely. And last up is Alvarez, who we've mentioned before. I would say he's probably a sell at the moment, although he is ticking along nicely. It's just with Watkins, Nunes, Solanke, Edouard. There's better play. There's not better players. I'll rephrase that. There's players with better fixtures who could be better as FPL assets over the next set of fixtures. So Man City have got Liverpool at home, Tottenham at home, Aston Villa away. Then Man City in Gameweek 16 have Luton away and Crystal Palace. Obviously there's been a flurry of goals coming up. There was 4-4 against Chelsea. So tough teams could be more goals. Who knows? But I would say I'd be very tempted if I owned Alvarez to look to move it. It's not an urgent sell, but I think you could possibly do better over the next few fixtures.
Yeah, I'd agree with that, Joe. Yeah, I think he did well for the third goal at Stamford Bridge, but aside from that, I didn't think he was that involved. No. So, and his stats haven't been great for a few weeks now. He's not getting in the box so much. There's not many shots in the box happening. So, yeah, I don't think Alvarez playing in that City team is ever a priority sell. I think he's fine to keep, but you could find a better forward elsewhere, I think, for the next few weeks. And then given that Alvarez as well, he's playing for Argentina during the international break, so you've got that doubt over game week 13. They blanked then in game week 18. So there might be better opportunities elsewhere.
Let's have a look at how we got on for our assists imminent table. Yeah, we've got quite a few here as well. Ward-Prowse as well. That's good. So we'll start at the top. Luca Dean, he didn't do so well for us on the assists. McNeil at Everton as well. He's interesting because it would appear that he is allowing Mikalenko to get forwards and score so basically all we're predicting from McNeil is actually happening to another player. McNeil's facilitating that by the looks of it. Is that something you picked up on?
I'm not sure. Mikalenko, you can't really go too wrong given his price, but I wouldn't be expecting those attacking returns to continue that regularly. I don't think that I've seen enough in that role and the change of it to suggest he's suddenly going to turn into prime Trent Alexander-Arnold. No. But he's still cheap. But he's cheap, and Everton are getting better, so there's nothing wrong with getting him in. Just maybe keep your expectations in check with it a little bit. And they have got some tougher fixtures to come, Everton. I'm just looking. Admittedly, they're at home the next few, but United, Newcastle, Chelsea at home. Yeah. But fine if you can kind of bring him in and out when you want to. But for McNeil, I think the problem is at Everton now is you've got Decore, you've got Harrison, who's doing actually quite well with assists, and you've got Calvert-Lewin as well. So you've got three players there who I think I'd probably prefer over McNeil at this moment in time as well.
Okay. A couple of Villa players also on this list. Luca Dean didn't provide us with an assist. Diaby did, though. So well done, Diaby. So what's the situation with the defence at the moment? Moreno, is he back? And so Luca Dean, is he sort of surplus to requirements?
No, I don't think. I think Dean is done very, very well this year. I think he's a bit underrated, to be honest, his performances. So I don't see Alex Moreno just suddenly coming straight back into the picture after the international break. I think he will be used potentially in Europe, and his minutes will be slowly introduced. But I don't think there's any guarantee at the moment that he comes in completely for Dean, because Dean's done so well. Problem is for Dean is you have got that little bit of uncertainty. He's on 4 yellow cards as well.
Yeah.
So you don't want to be looking at a Villa defender now. The fixtures are turning anyway. But he's had a really good season. And then for Diaby, I mean, there was a bit of controversy with the assist at the weekend, wasn't there? But Opta, they were the ones who saw a touch from him. Hence, he got the assist. It wasn't visible. I mean, it wasn't screen live in the UK, so it's difficult to get as many camera angles as we normally do. But Opta, they were sure they saw the touch. So, he got the assist, but he had a good game. He was taken off after 62 minutes, I think, just because he played in Europe and his minutes are still being managed a bit. But I think the Spurs game could be good for Diaby. I think on the break, high line, I think he could have a good week, so I wouldn't sell him yet.
Yeah, I mean, I'm going into that Spurs-Villa game with 2 Spurs players in Porro and Son, and 2 Villa players in Matty Cash and Watkins. Out of all of those, Matty Cash I think can go, because he doesn't seem to be getting the attacking returns that I want from him. And we'll look at attacking defenders in a minute, and I'm not sure he sort of figures quite highly there. So he's not the one that drives forward.
Well, I think the appeal was when Cash was playing on the right wing, wasn't he? And he popped up out of position a couple of times, and he got a lot of good chances in those matches. That isn't happening now. Tielemans came in for Zaniolo at the weekend and had a really good game as well. Now Tielemans is playing wide left, which means McGinn plays wide right, where Cash would be out of position. I don't see that happening anytime soon. So I think Cash. I think you can sell him.
Definitely. And also just remind people of those fixtures with Villa. They got Tottenham next and Bournemouth. So Tottenham and Bournemouth look okay for attacking returns potentially, but also not for defensive returns. And then it gets even worse for defensive returns with City and Arsenal and Brentford. So I wouldn't expect any clean sheets there. But then in game week 18, this is annoying. They play Sheffield United at home, which is about as good as you can get for a clean sheet.
Maybe it depends on price, how much you put. I mean, he's 5.2 now, but we're forgetting he started and he was 4.5, wasn't it, at the start of the season? So if you got on board early, you might be happy to just push him on your bench for a few weeks. If you spent a lot of money, 5 million, 5.1, you could probably look to sell him and then maybe look to bring him back in further down the line.
I think for me, for that price, 5 weeks a couple of weeks maybe, 5 weeks on the bench. I mean, that's why I was thinking of selling Porro until I got confirmation on Maddison's injury, because I thought with Porro, suddenly got assist potential, and so it transpired. So I do think, I mean, Tottenham can ship whatever. I don't mind. Now, as long as Porro gets me attacking returns. So he's a hold for me, but Cash maybe not. Also on this list here, Alexander Arnold. We're going to mention him in a second. We look at attacking defenders. Martinelli is next. He didn't get an assist. That tends to happen when Trossard plays. So Trossard got the attacking returns. Now Martinelli's still in your team. What are you going to do with him?
Yeah, really disappointing. I mean, bought him in game week 10 because he had Sheffield United at home and then Burnley at home a couple of weeks later, and I didn't get anything for it. And the performance at the weekend against Burnley, it kind of summed him up. He beat his fullback for fun. You know, he's getting to the byline, but he just lacked that final ball a bit. He's picked up a knock as well. I think he has gone away with Brazil on the internationals. But I think I'm gonna sell him. I think I mean we'll talk about it later on, but there's a lot of appealing midfielders at the moment, and I don't want to hold him any longer. I don't think Brentford's an easy game. The fixtures are okay. He plays Wolves and Luton after, but I've given him those 3 games and he hasn't done anything. So I'm ready to move him on.
In a weird way, I'm quite envious of the fact that you've got a midfielder you don't want. Because when we come to look at our teams, I've got 5 midfielders I want.
Yes.
In fact, and I want more, but I can't get them because I can't find a place for them. So next up, Ward-Prowse. Finally, this is what happens with him. He does, even if he's playing defensively, he's still on those set pieces. He can take free kicks, and of course during the game, you know, he might be a bit more advanced midfielder at certain points. And so it transpired, 2 assists. So well done, their owners. His ownership will be very low, so they would have got Handsome return there. Gibbs White, mocked by many in the live chat last week. Why are we recommending Gibbs White? So his stats aren't as good as last season. However, he did return with an assist, so a nice return there. Lots of better options in midfield now, but we did say about Nottingham Forest fixtures from an attacking point of view, especially, were pretty good. They've got Brighton up next, game week 13. Got many more injury problems there at Brighton. Then they've got Everton at home, then Fulham away, Wolves away, Tottenham with their defensive problems, and then game week 18. Got Bournemouth at home, so he's a game week 18 player you can have, and then it stiffens up a bit in game week 19 with Newcastle and Manchester United. But I still think, if not Gibbs White, definitely Nottingham Forest are a team we should be looking at, and I might even get a Forest defender. I might have to talk to Mark Suttons about this and get some Nottingham Forest detail. But I really like Nottingham Forest's next lot of fixtures from a defensive and an attacking point of view.
Yeah, I do as well. And I think Gibbs White is actually a viable option for our midfield. There's a lot of competition. He got the assist at the weekend. It was his shot, which was parried by Ariola, and then Awanihi put it in. But they've looked better in the past couple of weeks. Alanga's playing really well on the left for them. The good thing is with Forest is this is oversimplifying it a bit, but they're very good at home and they're really bad away. Okay. And four of the next 6 are at home.
Yeah.
They don't lose many games at all at home. I think it's only only the top teams have beaten them in like the past year or something, like City and maybe Liverpool or something like that. So they're really good in that sense. Murillo went off with a hamstring injury at the weekend. He's obviously a key part of their defence now, but yeah, they could still offer value. Aina got an assist at the weekend, attacking fullback. Yeah. So, and the fixtures are great. So, don't dislike that.
I never thought I would say that this season, but I'm seriously looking at a Nottingham Forest defender to bring in. Toffolo is one. As Sense in the live chats recommended him. Aina as well. Dr. David. I don't know if he's an actual doctor, but Dr. David has said that as well about Aina. So there is options there.
There's quite. Forest have a lot of players in every position, but they have a lot of players, particularly in fullback. I think Sir Gorier's there. At left back, Toffolo, he's got the nod in the past too. He got a couple of assists against Villa. So. But maybe a centre back would be a bit safer. But then if Murillo's out, you might want to go for that upside. So speak to Mark.
Yeah. Okay.
See what he thinks.
So you got Brighton next. Now, when De Zerbi came in, Brighton were looking great until they played Nottingham Forest at home, and I think it was 0-0. It was certainly boring, but Nottingham Forest made it boring, and that's a compliment to them. That they got the better of Brighton. They completely nullified their attack there. But Everton at home, even the away games, the 2 away games in the next 6, Fulham and Wolves, there's clean sheet potential there, I think.
Yeah.
So go on, more I think about. Wow, it's funny how FPL turns you like this. I didn't come into this thinking I'd be gung ho about Nottingham Forest.
Yeah, but I think that if you can play them in the home games and then have them and maybe slot them into a really good away fixture, I like defenders like that. Yeah. I think the pricing of FPL means that now we're largely looking towards those top sides. And by that, I mean teams who are finishing the top 6, 7, 8. But occasionally, if it's a part of a rotation, play it like defenders from Palace, for instance. They're all the rage now. But, players like Gahey who are 4.5, they can be really useful players to bring in those good fixtures.
Definitely. We've had confirmation from Dr. David. He is a doctor, not a medicine, though, a philosophy. What an educated live chat we have today. We can move down the list. Willian, people aren't going to go for him at Fulham, but, he's there's too many other choices in midfield. There's Salah. Was in our assists imminent table. He didn't. He sadly let us down tragically. All he could muster was 2 goals and a 16-point haul for many who captained him. So that's what he's still getting the goals. He's still Salah. I think that's his 200th goal in English football. I think. I don't know which. Okay. I mean, it's a record. He's breaking records all the time. Yeah. And he's still scoring. I mean, needless to say, are there any teams without Salah? Have you seen any? I've seen Haaland-less teams, but
yeah, I think that was the tactic, wasn't it? A few people went without Haaland, and then obviously, had Salah and we're going to captain him most weeks. I captained him at the weekend. The Darwin link-up is really encouraging. They seem to be he's assisting for Salah a lot these days. I think Salah's last blank at home was in game week 21 of last season. He's just every home game he's just delivering, and so Fulham. I don't think people. I mean, we'll talk about it in the captaincy video, Joe. I don't think people will captain him at City, although he does tend to do okay against City. I don't think people will stick the armband on him for them, but I think Fulham the week after at home when City play Tottenham that game week. So I think that he will again, like he was at the weekend, the main captain among engaged in managers. So.
Yeah, game week 15, Sheffield United at home, another captaincy shout. Crystal Palace away, game week 16. I remember that great game.
He's done well there.
Yeah, he's done well there. I remember the game where he was benched and many captained him. He came on in the last half an hour and got one of his best hauls of all season, 18 points or something.
It was the early kickoff, wasn't it? And I think I had a lot of friends who kind of slept through the deadline or ignored it, left the armband on him. Me, with that knowledge that he was benched, thought, well, I'll play him, but I'm not going to captain him. And then he came on and just got a ridiculous amount of points in the second half.
I think I was busy. I think I was busy, so I couldn't. I just went, what the hell?
I'll just wish I was too. I wish I was busier.
And then he's got Manchester United. Salah's got a great record against Manchester United, and then Arsenal, Burnley. He's a hold. And then he goes, off to AFCON. I can't remember which date it is, whether it's game week 19, 20, around that time.
I haven't got it. I haven't got it to hand at the moment. We'll be doing an article on site about it. I think we've got one penciled in for this international break. Just having a look at that and the dates. So keep an eye out for that. So
suddenly there's going to be a lot of money floating around that time. Especially Son is away as well on international duty.
Correct.
There's going to be a lot of money. We're going to be flush for cash. Hughes at Crystal Palace probably won't sketch over him. Lots of other better options in midfield, but nevertheless, good to see more Crystal Palace options there. Let's have a look at some attacking defenders. So what I've done is I've done the most recent ones because we sort of started off with an idea and there's been a lot of injuries, a lot of people coming back from injuries. So I've done the last 4 game weeks, just sort of the latest ones. And their minutes per expected goal involvement, this is low for them all because that's their defenders. It's not their job. But nevertheless, some of them can get assists and goals. And they're the ones we want in our team. So, for example, that Porro assist for me really helped out until obviously... Simicast, who I would have played in his place, got a massive haul. But nevertheless, these are the players you want. Simicast, obviously, another option there. So looking at these, top of the list is Alexander-Arnold, which is sort of surprising because people aren't going for him for his price. But it's just a timely reminder, really. He's created 9 chances in the last 4 game weeks. 3 clean sheets. And his expected goal involvement of 1.5 goals expected to be involved in. Started all 4. I mean, just a reminder, you do get some quality with that money, don't you?
Yeah, I think 6 of those created chances were against Luton when he had a very good match, albeit Liverpool couldn't get the win. His points over the last 4 weeks, I think he's got 7, 2, 5, 6, and that's without attacking returns. That's just via clean sheets. So I do worry a bit whether this season they aren't quite as reliant on his creativity with Szoboszlai and McAllister in there, and Salah taking on a bit more of a creative role maybe as well. It's just very, 7.9 million. It's a lot of money, isn't it, Joe? So is he going to offer enough? I mean, he's almost 2 million more than Trippier, and I know we're going a bit off Trippier now, but it's hard. Sorry, he isn't 2 million more. Of course, he isn't. He's 0.9 million. Sorry, so he's 0.9 million more. And given how good Trippier's been for bonus recently and things like that, it's hard to make a case for him, and it still is now, I think.
Yeah.
But if you wanted a differential defender and you did have a bit of cash floating around, you could certainly have a look at him from 14.
Lovely discussion in the live chat going on. Albert Camus, the philosopher, is being discussed by Beardy, and Dr. David in the live chat. So it's all go. It's all go. Next up is James, another who's is actually good value if he was alive in our teams and on the pitch. He's 5.3 million. He's had 3 shots inside the box, created 5 chances. He has had an assist. His expected goal involvement is just under 1 over the last 4 game weeks, but only 2 starts. It's the same old story with him. If he's fit, then from game week 16, when Chelsea have Everton, Sheffield United, Wolves, Crystal Palace, Luton, what a great run that is from 16 to 20. James would be a lock, but Christmas rotation, his dire injury records, I'm just not going to go there, but maybe I will. And that's how everyone's thinking, isn't it? I'm not going to go there. Oh, maybe I will.
I'll go there. I'm not even going to fight it anymore. I know I'm not. It's going to happen. He's going to be in my team, and we're going to be here again in a few weeks, probably thinking why. But I was looking at him even from after Newcastle game. So for the Brighton home match, just because I think with Cole Palmer on the right wing and the way that Cole Palmer moves so centrally, I just think that link up is just going to be, if he can stay fit, I think it's going to be so exciting. He's 5.3 million.
I know.
He's probably going to be injured by game week 16 or 17. So why not just get him in now?
I could get him now for Matty Cash.
he's not on international duty, is he? So he's been spared that. I completely get why people will not want to touch Reece James, but I think if you're looking for a defender, and I've been in a position this year where I've had transfers and I actually haven't had to use them. The team, especially coming off the back of a wild card when your team is set up well, and I just think that Cole Palmer James link up is really exciting. And I think that you might not get too many clean sheets in the short term, but if he's still fit in a few weeks, I think he could be one of the very best to go for if he's fit.
That's it. You see, so he's got Newcastle, Brighton, and Manchester United next. So, I mean, maybe not with Manchester United, but definitely Brighton and Newcastle. I expect them to concede. And then by the time I want him in game week 16 against Everton, he could have a long-term injury then. So, I'm going to say it here. I might get James in, but I am going to wait until game week 16 because I'm not going to make an advance move for him.
I think that's sensible. I still look at that Brighton game and I think that looks tasty, but maybe just waiting a little bit and getting him to build, because even if he starts these games, he's going to be taken off a bit early. That might not be such a bad thing if the clean sheet's intact. As
Alex in the live chat points out, getting Reece James for the Christmas period is a hilariously bad decision. You are very accurate there. Dr. David has taken the philosophical approach. Colwell is more nailed. That could be the chapter of his next book.
Yeah, and that's but that's why going for James might be better now, because they're not in Europe. They haven't got that volume of fixtures where his fitness can be handled a bit better. Yeah. I'm not going to kind of try and persuade anybody to get him because I know that the problems. But for my own team, the type of manager I probably will be tempted in a couple of weeks. Okay.
Next up,
perfect Matty Cash replacement there.
He is. I don't know. Maybe I will. I don't know. Maybe I'll go for that hilariously bad decision. Trippier is next. 6 chances created, a couple of clean sheets. He's had 18 corners, and is expected to have been involved in about a third of a goal involvement there. Just another reminder there. I mean, I had him for one of his flurry of returns. I think I got 30 points in 2 matches, then sold him on wildcard to make way for some other players. And I haven't really regretted that move. I've missed out on some points with Trippier, but I think my other players have more than recompensed there. At 7 million, I don't think Trippier, until Botman's back, until their defence is shored up, I don't think 7 million is enough value for Trippier currently. What do you think? Yeah,
they've got a lot of injuries, haven't they? Yeah. I did see earlier that Botman was perhaps back out on the grass.
He's on the grass. Yeah, he's
Is that
kicking the ball,
okay?
but I don't
Yeah.
think he's in full training. But he's there.
So you're probably looking at another 3 weeks or two or
Yeah.
3 weeks before we could even consider him. So getting him back helps Trippier. Obviously, Dan Burns out. I think Bruno Guimaraes is back now. He was suspended for the last one, but there's still a lot of injuries there, isn't there?
Yeah.
And
So
given the fixtures, what is he going to be worth 7?
no, I think I mean I would, if I can get a confirmation. I mean, I would get Botman back definitely if he's because you would think with Bruno back as well in midfield. So they've got Chelsea next up at home. Don't think you're going to get a clean sheet on Chelsea's current attacking form. But then you've got Manchester United at home. That is a clean sheet, I think. And then you've got Everton away. Tottenham might concede there. Fulham, Luton, Nottingham Forest.
Just a bit mixed, isn't it?
It's got some all right ones there though.
Yeah,
definitely Botman, and it's just annoying that I need to make a cheap defender move.
Cheap defender.
This move when Botman may or may not be returning. I mean, I might end up just getting Botman in and just leaving him on the bench, maybe, because I think I'd want him for that run.
Yeah, I think it would be good to get an update on that, wouldn't it? Because we don't, just because somebody's out on the grass, it doesn't mean that they're necessarily that close to coming back. So see what Eddie Howe says.
Yeah. As Beardy points out, Lascelles is up to 4.1 now, but still cheap. Yes, but if Botman's back, then Lascelles doesn't matter whether he's 1p. He's just pointless now because he won't play.
Go and get Livramento like me. I heard he's nailed. So.
Yeah, okay. Well, we'll talk about your Livramento move in a sec. So Luca Dean, we've mentioned there. Just worth mentioning that he has had 8 chances created in the last 4 game weeks. Ben Mee at Brentford is an intriguing one. 4.8 million. He's expected goal involvement. It's about a third of expected goal involvement last 4. So I just don't think people are going to go for another Brentford player because they're missing game week 18. Ben Mee's these stats, whilst just behind say Luca Dean and Trippier even in terms of expected goal involvement. Ben Mee, I don't think many people are going to get Ben Mee in.
No, a bit of set piece threat.
Yeah,
but he's gone down in price. But Pinnock's a bit cheaper. He's 4.6. But I think that game week 18 is the key point there.
Yeah,
because we're going to want Mbomo running up to that, given the fixtures, and you're going to want Mbomo after. I don't think that ideally you want to sell Mbomo in 18 because he's got good fixture. I think he goes to Sheffield United after.
Yeah, he's just a bench. Yeah.
Yeah, so you want to bench him and you want to bench Haaland as well for that one.
Yeah.
I don't think you want to be taking up that other bench spot with another player who blanks because you're going to be down to the bare bones otherwise. So I don't think getting an additional Brentford or even another, if you've got an Alvarez, that's another reason to be looking at maybe offloading him as well. Yeah. And just preparing yourself for game week 18 because you ideally want one playing sub that week.
Yeah. Definitely. Alt Nori at Wolves, 4.5 million. Another I'm actually quite tempted by.
I was going to say on the
created 7 chances, 6 corners, started all 4. Expected goal amount should have been involved in 1 1/3 goals over the last 4 game weeks. And looking at the fixtures, away to Fulham, clean sheet potential and assist potential. Arsenal, that's tricky, game week 14. But then you've got this lovely run of Burnley, Nottingham Forest, West Ham, and then it turns a bit game week 18 with Chelsea. But nevertheless, he plays in game week 18. And then he's got Brentford and Everton. So it's not bad fixtures. And I might have talked myself into getting out Alt Nori in as well instead of a Forest player.
Thought he looked really good against Spurs. He did play as a wing-back in that game. Now, not totally sure if that will continue at Wolves because Dawson's out of the next game. Yeah. So if he's obviously not quite as appealing if he's playing at left-back and there's competition from Bueno as well. Yeah. But he's passing the eye test, and so I think that's really interesting. Is he super nailed on? I'd probably want to go to a Wolves fan and just kind of get the exact details of that. But if it's all promising on that side, then the fixtures, it's that Burnley Forest game, those back-to-back home games at Molineux, which look really good for him.
Well, he's very away to Fulham. That's hugely playable this week.
Raul Jimenez scored at the weekend, but they've been struggling, haven't they, in attack all season?
Alex is pointing out in the live chat, if Neto comes back, then Wolves don't play wing back, so you're not going to get so much attacking threat from Alt Nori, etc. Next up is Ake, 5 million. It's only one start, and therein lies the problem. Also, he misses game week 18. He may miss all the matches before because he's only getting one start last 4 game weeks. But nevertheless, he is an option. 5 million, created a couple of chances over that time, and he has scored. So he plays for Man City. He's a defender who can score. So there's an option there. It's Akanji's not on this list, but Akanji in the last 4 has been racking up the goals. But I mean, is that just happenstance, or is because Akanji was just nowhere near these minutes per expected goal involvement stats?
What they've been doing is, because John Stones is injured, he's actually been taking on a bit of that kind of the hybrid role, when they kind of they move into midfield in possession. So he has been, we put a heat map up at the weekend, he has been getting a bit further up the pitch. That hasn't had anything to do with the goal at the weekend. That was just a set piece goal from a corner. But yeah, I mean, Ake's pulled out of the Dutch squad for the internationals, which might make Guardiola a bit more nailed as well. But I think Akanji would be potentially one to look at, although Walker's still playing a lot of games, isn't he? So maybe he's probably the superior one.
Okay.
But yeah, Akanji, there is a bit of a role change there, and it depends how long Stones is going to be out for if that continues.
Yeah. And Ake is out of the Dutch squad with injury as well at the moment, so we don't know the full extent of that. Cucurella's next on this, 4.8 million. Another Chelsea defensive asset, 3 starts out of the last 4. So 3 shots inside the box, created 3 chances, should have been involved, no assists or goals, but should have been involved in at least 1 goal over the last 4 game weeks. He's there because Chilwell's not there. Is that right? I mean, whereabouts? I've been monitored him.
Just because of Colwell, he's been playing that left-back role, and he missed out with a shoulder problem at the weekend, but it's minor. So Cucurella, he actually looks okay when he comes in. I didn't think he did badly, but he's nowhere near nailed enough to be able to consider him in FPL.
He was good at Brighton before Chelsea ruined him.
He was very, very good, wasn't he? Yeah.
But nevertheless, Chelsea have recompensed by, again, Cole Palmer. Cole Palmer's always been good, though. So I'm not sure whether that's Chelsea. It's just he didn't get game time at City.
He's just been given the minutes and freedom to play, hasn't he? And I mean, I don't know if the rate of penalties is sustainable, but the stats are good anyway. Yeah. So 5.2 million should be good.
My player next, Porro. I was going to sell him, but then with Maddison out, I thought might get some assists there. So I still think that's going to be the case. 5.2. We have mentioned him already, but he's had created 3 chances last 4 game weeks. I think that will go up. Because he will be on more set pieces. He has had an assist. He has had a clean sheet. That may go down the next 4. And he's expected to be involved in at least 1 goal. And he indeed was. 4 starts. And he's had 4 corners as well. So I think with Tottenham, with clean sheet potential, iffy. With Villa, Man City, West Ham, Newcastle. But then against Nottingham Forest, Everton, Brighton, that'll be iffy. And Bournemouth, maybe he'll get some clean sheets there, but I do think there's assist potential there. So I think he's not an immediate sell. He's not a buy, but he's probably a keep, I think, for a little while.
Yeah, I think, like you said, he's going to be on more set pieces with Maddison out.
Yeah.
Took 3 corners at the weekend. I don't see too many clean sheets in that, but Tottenham are so attacking, and the way he plays with that role where he gets into the centre of the pitch quite a bit, he pops up in the box. I think he's absolutely fine to keep.
Yeah. Just a reminder for those in the live chat, do press that like button. I'll just expand my screen a little bit to see there's hundreds of you in the live chat, but not even 100 likes yet. So do press that like button. Do see if we can get that like count up there. There is a question in the live chat about is Tsimikas still a good buy, but we will answer questions after we talked about our teams in a bit. But yes, Tsimikas, I don't know. I'm going to ask Tom this now because I benched him this week. I was all prepared to get rid of him. He was hooked mid game in Europe. He hasn't impressed. He's created 6 chances last 4 game weeks, nevertheless, and he has got 2 assists. But this is all seemed to be from the last game or last half of the game. I was reading some just comments, just scrolling through X and social media, and Tsimikas looked pretty poor the first half. People were saying, so I don't know what to make of him. And now Klopp's praising him. So is Tsimikas a keep, a sell, a buy? What What do we do with him?
I think he's a keep if you own him. I think it's very hard to sell somebody after the 15-point haul. I sold him last week, and like quite a few others, because he didn't play against Luton. Like you said, he was hauled off at half-time in midweek in Toulouse. And there was a bit of uncertainty even at the weekend going in if he would start. I think the Liverpool fan base was kind of split on it. A lot of people thought Gomez would come back in. But then, of course, he picked up the injury, which nobody knew about.
No.
And so Tsimikas came in, and it was, I mean, the quotes from Klopp after the game, they basically said, as soon as he got that first assist, you could see his confidence grow from that point. Klopp said that. He said, he said, I think something about positive feedback is always good, and an assist is positive feedback. It immediately, he said he could notice on the pitch straight away when he got that. So I think Tsimikas coming out of that, his stock has risen, and it's, he's suddenly a better option now than he was last week. I didn't, I'm kind of kicking myself for selling him, but I had 2 free transfers, and I was kind of looking for stuff to do. It's quite an interesting talking point. There's an article by Simon Marsh on the site at the moment, which is burning an FBL transfer ever a good idea? So go and have a look on that site, because it's raised some good kind of debate in the comment area. For me, I made the move and went to Livramento, so it's pretty disastrous in the end. But Tsimikas, going back to him, I wouldn't buy him obviously now, because they go to City, and I think you can give it a bit more time and then have a look at it again ahead of that Fulham match, because the landscape seems to be changing very quickly with Tsimikas. If he goes up to the Etihad and has they might not even play him there, but if he goes up to the Etihad and has a mare, you're going to be then thinking, "Ooh, is he nailed again?" And people might not like that, but when he does play at home, there's obviously upside in that.
Yeah. So he's got City next, but then I'll bench him again, but then I'll start fielding him. So this is quite a good time, because Fulham at home, Sheffield United away, Crystal Palace, Manchester United. Nice run there. Game week 18 gets a bit tough against Arsenal, when ideally I would want a better defender then. But nevertheless, he could get a run. Well, he probably will get a run out there, because we'll be missing our Brentford and City players. Then he's got Burnley away, and then Newcastle. So yeah, a bit of a mixed bag, but yeah, that sort of game week 14 to game week 17 run is pretty nice for Tsimikas. So I think I'll be playing him then. There. So he's a hold, but also a wait and see and a dump, and he could be all at the same time.
He could be anything, but he could be a buy after the next round of fixtures if you're looking for a cheap defender. But at the moment, it's very hard to recommend him fully.
Okay. Let's have a look at our team. So we're going to put our teams up, have a little chat about how we got on, and some early thoughts for Game Week 13. Next week, we'll have a team reveal video with a bit more detail. There's no point doing a big team reveal video this week, because we don't know what's going to happen in internationals. But we'll give us some early thoughts as well. Do have a think about some questions. Do put questions in the live chat, and do put a question mark on them so I can easily see them. We have had quite a few questions already, so I'll try and go back to them. But a question mark will be really handy. You can see that quickly. Tom, your team, you had a good game week, 78 points. Do you want to run through your team and sort of any decisions you got in Game Week 13? Also, where are you in the rankings at the moment? Must have got a bit of a rank boost from this.
Yeah, I mean, I'm still in the millions. It's pretty bleak. Having been ranked at about 200k after Game Week 3, it's been a tough period. But this brought quite a significant rank boost, and I'm still adamant that it's early in the season and there's plenty of time to turn things around. I'm probably, I think, around about 40, 50 points off where I need to be, or where I'd like to be, which is a lot. But what can you do? We'll keep plugging away. The team anyway, 78 points. Could have been a lot better if I hadn't have sold Tsimikas. But in truth, I don't think I would have played him with Gahey first on the bench anyway.
I owned him and I didn't play him.
So I think I would have been looking at him first on my bench anyway. So So from back to front, Areola got 2 points. Really disappointing. West Ham just not keeping clean sheets, but he's 4.3 million. So I'm not looking to remove him or anything. Cash, Gabriel, and Livramento at the back. Cash and Gabriel both got 2 points. Livramento just came on for the second half. I think he'll play against Chelsea because Lewis Hall is ineligible to play that. I think. I'm going to keep him for a bit longer because I think he will play more often than not. So, Yeah, disappointing from the defence, really. Not one return at all, but there weren't many clean sheets around, were there?
No.
So, yeah, that's where I'm at with that. In midfield, I'll just quickly run through the rest. So Salah captain, 32 points. Adingra got the goal and bonus, which I was really happy about with 9 points.
You get all of those 9 points as well, because his ownership's only something like 1% or something.
Yeah, Saka gets the assist. Saka gets the assist. Salah gets the goals, but it was the Adingra goal which I suddenly checked my rank, and that was the one boosting it up.
Same with me, yeah.
So they all did well. Martinelli and Son blanks, and then up front I've got Watkins and Haaland who both returned.
Yeah.
On the bench, Strakosha, Gahey, Taylor, and Mubama.
Okay, right, yeah. Okay, so who came in for you this week then?
Livramento for Tsimikas. Yeah,
yep,
I had 2 free transfers, but I just did the one move.
So you've got 2 free transfers in Gameweek 13. What, are you going to use them or just use one?
I've got 2 free transfers and I've got 0.4 million in the bank. I don't think I'll do anything with the back line because I can play Gahey at Luton, Gabriel at Brentford, and Livramento at home to Chelsea because I think he'll play. Not a great fixture, but it's okay. The only move I'd consider there is selling cash and for another defender who I don't really know who I'd be looking at just yet. I'll need to think that one through a bit, but I don't necessarily need to make a defensive move this week. I think it's in midfield where I'll probably make the move, and Martinelli's the one that I want to sell. Mbomo, I want to bring in, but game week 14 is probably the best time. Although he is at home against I think home against Arsenal is a tough match, but at least he's at home. So I could move that. If I did make that Martinelli to Mbomo move this week, that obviously frees up a bit of cash. And I could go Adingra to Eze or Ward-Prowse or something like that. You kind of change the midfield around a bit.
Looking at the fixtures, I would probably think Eze would be more of the priority over Mbomo this week because Crystal Palace play Luton. And then they got West Ham and Bournemouth, but then they stiffen in Game Week 16. So the longer you put off that as they move, the smaller that group of good fixtures gets.
So I could go Martinelli to Eze this week, and then Adingra play him at Forest up to Mbomo 14.
That's exactly what I would do. I am very envious that you've got a midfielder you want to dump, and that also enables you to get Mbomo without a fuss. And move from Adingra because Brighton played Nottingham Forest away, which I don't think is a very good fixture at all, and then Chelsea away, which is probably better for Brighton than Nottingham Forest the way they play.
Fixtures are okay for them.
They're okay. He's not. I mean, we've done well getting those returns out of Adingra. He has also come off the back a few days earlier. He scored and assisted against Ajax.
Which is what gave me the confidence to kind of keep him and play him at the weekend because he looked great in that game, didn't he?
And it was.
You do worry a bit.
Rest,
you do just worry a bit that is Europe taking it a bit out of Brighton. Do you feel that way, Joe, as a fan? I mean, it's a lot of rotation.
Yes. He also has sort of Fati and Pedro are very much for Europa League. They're very much those players, so they're going to start most of those. But now Ferguson's got an injury. I heard that it's back and something else, hamstring as well. It seems to be a double injury.
Right. Yeah.
And he is, he has been played a lot for a 19-year-old, and for his country as well over the last year or two. So it's not surprising he's perhaps getting injured. So with Welbeck out as well, on the wings, it's mainly going to be Adingra on the right or the left because March isn't there. Matoma on the left only. You're not going to really see Matoma on the right. So Adingra, he scored a wonder goal from the left against Sheffield United, and he's effective on the right as well. So, I think he's
fine. He's fine to hold, isn't he?
Oh yeah, he's fine to hold, definitely. He's so cheap and he enables so others. I mean, I got him in as an enabler. But I think your move that you just said there, Martinelli to Eze, and then Adingra to Mbomo, and then see when it pans out, when Crystal Palace's fixtures stiffen a bit, then you can move Eze to someone else.
Well, yeah, it kind of coincides. I'm looking at Chelsea for
Ah,
game
Palmer.
week 16. Yeah, there's Palmer,
Mm,
who I really like. What a great enabler at 5.2.
yeah.
And there's Nkunku coming back, isn't there, as well?
Mm,
And we don't quite know where he's at, but he's
no.
just a name to have in the back of your mind for when you're talking about Watkins and players like that. And you might want to move them on, or
Yeah.
he's just somebody to keep in mind because Chelsea, they're scored.
Yeah.
They're looking better, aren't they?
Yeah.
They're not fully there yet, but they're improving. So
Yeah, you're keeping those 2 price points, as in like a sort of a 5 million or so midfielder and a
yeah,
mid price one. You're just sort of swapping them around in a different way. It's popular in the Sky Fantasy game. It's called sort of daisy chaining a move. So you get there's a player that you want, and you think, how am I going to get to them? And there's a player in the meantime that you can get. So for you, for example, it's Eze. Eze is
so,
just
yeah,
someone you can sort of get on and daisy chain onto the player that you actually want long term, perhaps Mbomo, for example, or
yeah,
Palmer,
yeah,
or
yeah.
Nkunku, or Chelsea midfielder, and you're doing it that way. And yeah, that's what I would do if I were you, definitely.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure a midfielder will be moving, and then
Yeah,
I might even save the second transfer
yeah.
to get on Bomo the week
Oh
after.
yeah, that's great. That's great moves, I think. I'll put my team up now. I've got 88 points. I'm
Wow.
on the cusp of the top 100k. On the
I was
cusp.
going to say you're having a good season.
120 something thousands in the world, but immaterial at this stage. So 88
Wow.
points. I could have got 98 if I'd have played Simicast, because I would have played Simicast instead of Porro. I would always have played Cash. I would always have played Anderson this week. So I'm not going to pretend I would have swapped him for my lowest player. It definitely would have been Porro. So I had a 3-5-2 also, and similarities with your team. So I had Areola, Cash, and Anderson. I played all blanked for me. Pedro Porro got me an assist, which got me about 50,000 so rank jump because so many people have dumped Porro recently.
Yeah, and he was on for a mega. He was on for 12, wasn't he? Up
Well, I
until
just couldn't believe it.
89 minutes.
Yeah.
But still, in a week when there wasn't many clean sheets, 5 isn't bad at all.
So yeah, I like you also, Captain Salah. Son blank, but Son was my only midfield blank, my only attacking 7 blank. Saka got me an assist. Bowen got me a return. Adingra obviously got that goal and bonus points. Watkins and Haaland up front. So I could have. Watkins was actually my vice captain, so glad I went for Salah. But so I obviously didn't have that much faith in Haaland, but it is Haaland. Turner's on my bench. Archer as well, played but blanked. Simic has 15 points, and Lamptey. I think this was something like my third best game week rank of the season. And coincidentally, I think my last one I got similar, like 90 points or something. And my last good score that was. But I can't remember who I benched, but I also had about getting on for nearly 20 points on my bench as well. And I think that's often the way. But that's often the way, isn't it? When you get when you get these good weeks, like Gameweek 12 was a good week. It had good fixtures for good players. So I was quite confident I would get something out of the week. And so often that way you will bench points. So unlike some people who've got, a bad score and bench Simicast, I didn't mind with this one. I can't complain.
No,
Got a green arrow.
Yeah.
As for moves, I've got 2 free transfers now. So I didn't use a transfer last week. Game week 14, I want Mbomo. The only midfielder I'm prepared to remove is Adingra, but I need to get 1.5 million from somewhere, and I can't see where I would get that from. So game week 14, possibly Bowen, West Ham at home against Crystal Palace. Doesn't scream Hall to me, but I really don't want to move Bowen. So I might go without Mbomo. And game week 13, I'm looking to that game week 14 move. So game week 13 move is really to sort of improve my squad. So probably Matty Cash to a defender with perhaps more chance of points.
Yeah.
And hopefully save money. So for example, if Botman was nowhere near ready to come back, I would get Lamptey to Lascelles, so I've just got a player, or Cash to Lascelles. But I don't want Lascelles now if Botman's back soon. So
No, there's enough. There's a little bit of doubt there, isn't there, about it? So, I mean, I wouldn't want to recommend this move now, but I think watch him in game week 13. You could sell Son only because he plays City, West Ham, Newcastle. So he's got two tougher games in there. Now, I think I'd want to watch Spurs against Villa before even really thinking that. But they weren't very good at Wolves, and they've got a lot of players out. And I just worry that, are they going to create enough for Son to remain a play which you want all the time? Or is he going to be a player now where we can move in and out with fixtures and not feel quite so worried about it? So I'd watch the Villa game. I wouldn't rule that move out yet. I would just see how it goes against them. But if Villa go and get a 2-0 win or something, which I think we're capable of, you might then think, well, he's away at City. He's got Newcastle a couple of weeks later. I might look to move him to Mbomo and use the cash elsewhere.
I sort of prefer Son away to City for a return. He has returned there before.
He does do all right against them.
And also at home to Newcastle and West Ham. There are a lot of home games, and he plays in game week 18 at home to Everton.
I'm just looking at your team. I was just thinking I wouldn't want to sell Bowen, I don't think, just because he's been playing as a centre forward recently.
Yes, I know.
And I like him there, so it's hard.
And I don't want to sell Saka. I don't want to sell Salah.
No, so it's difficult.
It is difficult. And I do think, I do get what you're saying, though. And if against Villa he's also poor, then he's a slightly easier sell against Man City. But it would be a long-term move. It would be me saying, right, that's my time with Son ending. And I think just before he goes away to the Asia Cup, he could be handy over Christmas, nailed on. And game week 18 he plays. Could be a captaincy shout.
I'm not even convinced if I'd do it yet, but I just think maybe watch that Villa game. You just worry that is there going to be enough creativity in that Spurs team without Maddison? Because they're probably going to go, I think Basuma's out against Villa as well. So it's going to be Højbjerg, Sarr and Bentancur probably. And I'm just not, I don't think Son is quite as appealing as he was a few weeks back when Maddison was firing.
Now, Alex in the live chat has pointed out something that I could do. Which is Watkins to Solanke. Because as we were talking about Solanke's fixtures, Sheffield United, Villa, Crystal Palace, next 3. And actually, next 5, Manchester United and Luton. And then Nottingham Forest. It just goes on and on. So Watkins to Solanke, I think I'm getting a similar type of player in FPL terms. I'm getting a reliable goal scorer or reliable attacking returns. And then that would free up $1 million or so.
To do a Dingra.
And it wouldn't be enough for me to do a Dingra to Mbomo, but it would the following week when I've still got 2 free transfers, and then I can remove cash, for example. So either way, I'm looking at that, and I do think that's probably my most realistic move, because I can't bring myself to remove any of these midfielders. They've shot up in price. I mean, Bowen's, I think they're all about $500,000 more than I pay for them now. Apart from Saka, even Salah's gone up $500,000.
So you would sell Watkins this week? Would you sell Cash?
No. I basically there's 3 players I would sell: Cash, Adingra, and Watkins.
Yeah, and you would want to get Solanke in this week, though, wouldn't you, for the Sheffield game?
And Solanke and Mbomo. And another.
A defender.
So either I'll do Watkins to Solanke now, because I do like Watkins against Spurs. I do think that's a really good fixture.
It's a good fixture, yeah.
Because they haven't got any centre backs to run back after him. So as soon as he breaks that high line, that's it. Goals. It could be a hat trick.
I think he'll do well. Yeah, I think I think him and Diaby are definite holds for this week. But then Solanke, I get if you're going to move for him, now is probably the time to do it.
So I need to have a look at the money. I've only got like 0.2 in the bank, so I'll have a look at that. But we'll discuss that more next week on our team reveal video. So plenty to think about there. Lots of midfielders and defenders thinking about, and perhaps moving to some strikers as well. I'll just put my blind back up a bit. It was so bright earlier, I had it down, and now it's looking a bit rainy again. So, okay, let's have a look at some of these questions in the live chat there. So, can you make sure you put some question marks on them so I'll get them? Let's go up here. Alex says Martinelli to Eze. So this is for you, Tom. You've already said you would make that move, and I think that's a good move as well. So other people,
yeah, I don't think the Luton Town game is as straightforward as maybe it looks on the ticker, because they've generally been good at Kenilworth Road. But then I think West Ham are conceding quite a few goals. Bournemouth at home is obviously a good fixture. But if you do bring in Eze this week, I think be aware that it's probably a 3-game week move and have an exit route in mind. Because I don't think you want to be carrying Eze for Liverpool and Man City after.
Okay. Kwana in the chat says he's on wildcard. Would we prefer Son and Kudos, or Morgan Gibbs White maybe, or Saka and Bowen? Also, if you're on a wildcard, which 5 midfielders would you take? I'm gonna have to go back to my team to remind myself. Not that my team's so fabulous that, but it just remind me which 4 I've got. So
what was it? It was Son and Kudus.
Yeah. So if you answer that, Son and Kudus or Saka and Bowen. If you ask that one, I'll answer which 5 midfielders. So the 5 midfielders I would take if you're wildcarding are 4 the ones I've got and a 5th one, which is Mbomo. So I would go for Salah, Son, Saka, Bowen, and Mbomo. That is a frighteningly good 5-man midfield. You will be the envy of wherever you live. Your neighbours, they'll be cheering you in the streets when you go down the shops with that midfield. And what do you think of that? The moves that he's thinking of?
I think that's really hard, and I'm still not sure. I'd want Son. That Son, I am a bit concerned about him, but Villa could be good because we do play a high line, so he might get opportunities. Him and Johnson, in behind. Kudus I really like, but I am a little bit concerned that, say, for instance, at the weekend, West Ham can score 3 goals and he hasn't got any in goal involvement.
Yeah.
There's different play. You've got Bowen there, you've got Paqueta, you've got Antonio sometimes plays, you've got Soucek who's chipping. There's a lot of different players there who are all getting like bits of these attacking returns. Saka isn't quite hitting those heights, but he's still chipping along, isn't he? He's got Wolves, he's got Luton, and I think Bowen is the West Ham. I think I'd be tempted by Saka and Bowen.
I would. I mean, I'd pretty much answer that with the midfielders I would get. It's those 4 midfielders I've got plus Mbomo. So yeah, just go for Talisman.
Bowen is just very consistent, very good away from home.
Yeah.
Potential captain in game week 13.
Yes.
When they go to Burnley. So there's quite a bit to like there. Kadushi's still not quite sure if he's going to play every single match either.
I don't think so. Just go with what you know. Bowen and Saka score lots of points, get them. But I do think get Son as well. I don't think, I don't think you should. I think, because we just don't know. Because Son against Villa's high line. I mean, it's the high line derby. It's going to be like,
it could be a
20 players on the
match.
Centre line and just panicking, running after whoever's the fastest striker and defender.
It's like Son and Johnson against Diaby and Watkins. Who can run the fastest. So, and who's the best sweeper keeper out of Vicario and Martinez? I think it's probably Vicario, but let's see.
Sumit asks, Sumit from Kathmandu, is it worth sacrificing Trippier for Saka? Looking for a 4.8 and below defender. Well, we've got lots. That's what I'm thinking about as well. Simicast, Nori, he's mentioned. You could put Gabriel in the mix as well. I think a Nottingham Forest defender. I'm very tempted by. If that works out with my long-term plans, I might go for a Nottingham Forest defender. Yes, is it worth sacrificing Trippier for Saka? I don't know. I think you're getting much of a muchness there. I think Trippier's still a good defender, getting attack and return. Saka's chipping away. Nothing spectacular. He'll get the odd haul, but probably 5 to 6 points most weeks. That's sort of
I don't think I probably wouldn't do it in 13 because Trippier tends to do very well at St James's Park. Brentford away is a tough match for Saka, and then just see how he looks. Saka hasn't been quite on it recently, and he's obviously playing away for England, so he's not going to get any rest either now. So. Yeah, maybe leave it for now for this week. see how it plays out in 13. Saka, nobody's going to be captaining, I don't think, Saka in 13. So I think even if he were to get a goal, I don't think it's going to hurt too much.
Okay. Superdip asks about, instead of Mbomo, is there any merit in going for Sterling instead? I mean, you've mentioned Nkunku coming back as well, but Chelsea's attack's really good now. Sterling, Palmer, and Kunku possibly, even Jackson. I mean,
I think I would probably put Mbomo a bit ahead of him because he's
Hmm.
got penalties, he's
Yeah.
takes some set pieces. He is that talisman there,
Mm-hmm.
if and the fixtures obviously for Brentford, Luton, Brighton, Sheffield United, good defences to play against. But I don't mind Sterling. You've just got to think: is Sterling at 6.9? Is he 1.7 million better than Palmer, who's on penalties? I don't think he is. No, but a different option. And if you want to do something a little bit different, it's not a terrible pick, Sterling, at all, is it?
Feremi asks, should he sell Son for Saka? He can't find another way of doing it. I wouldn't this week, but I possibly would in future for against Wolves in Game Week 14. Because, as we said, there's so much potential for Son and Watkins to haul against each other's high lines in Game Week 13. They might both blank, but that just looks like a whole mist waiting to happen.
Yeah, and I think Son quite a few people will captain him as well. So I think if you're losing him, you're really kind of hedging your bets that he isn't going to do anything. And I wouldn't feel confident in a home match I think he can get returns against Villa. I mean, we're not the same force away from home as we are at home. We've had some mixed results. We lost to Forest last time. We could only get a point at Molineux. We got heavily beaten at Liverpool and Newcastle this year. So, I think that's an okay fixture for Son at home. I think that we can beat Spurs, but I still think that there's goals in this game.
I mean, Alex who gave me that idea about Watkins and Adingra for Solanke and Bomo. I mean, he's just asking that question, which would you go for? So if you were wildcarding now, which would you do? I think I would go for the latter, Solanke and Bomo. Just reading through, see if we have questions. Who is the priority out of Palmer, Sterling, and James? Let's say when their fixtures get better in Game Week 16. I think no Chelsea player is a priority until their fixtures improve 16. But which would you get? I guess it's got to be team dependent, whether you need a defender or whether you need a midfielder. But I would say Palmer would probably
because it's what he enables, isn't it? As well, you've got a 5.2 player. There was a bit of doubt a few weeks ago. They were thinking, if Nkunku comes back, is Palmer nailed? But I think he's undroppable right now. The way he's playing, he's so Pochettino spoke at the weekend about being their playmaker. And I think if Nkunku comes back in, I think he's just as likely. I think he's probably going to either take a role in behind Jackson or he'll actually lead the line in some games himself. So I think Palmer has locked down that place for at least until he starts performing badly.
Jeremy asked the most fabulously worded question: who's the best Højlund replenishment? Well, I think the best replenishment of Højlund is, we've spoken about him, is probably Solanke at the moment, just because as a striker with a nice block of 3 fixtures, which is good for an attacker, in Sheffield United, Villa and Crystal Palace. So I would definitely go for that. Basically Manchester United attackers outside of Fernandes, because he's on penalties, I wouldn't even go there. Get attacking players from attacking teams, defensive players from defensive teams. That's the mantra.
Yeah, and Højlund's injured as well, isn't he? He's pulled out of the internationals. I think they said end of November, so he might be back for Everton. But I think I'd either look at Solanke, or if you don't necessarily have to make the move in 13, you could look at Darwin in 14. But those would be the two, I think.
Okay, just wrap up with a couple more questions. Subadipt says, well done on my name, Joe. Hope I got it right the second time as well. Colm asks, is a Jaffa cake a biscuit? I can't remember which way round it goes. I think it's technically a biscuit, but I'm not sure. Nice. Also, I'll remind, I didn't get any questions about my tour of the lower leagues football matches at the weekend, but I will say I did go and see Cheltenham to play Wigan. I
saw your tweet.
It was an amazing game. It was 1-1. Cheltenham got an own goal, so Wigan's were 1-0 up, but then there was a penalty which Cheltenham scored. It's always good to see a penalty live. Then there was a penalty miss from Wigan, and then the final half of the match, Cheltenham were amazing. And they were so unlucky not to score a hatful in the flurry of goals. Crowd were great, ground is great. Cheltenham are looking good on the up. So that was my latest from the lower league tours of the West Country. And final question, more FPL merit. Best captain candidates for this game week. Hold that thought. After this, me and Tom are recording the answer to that very question. So that will be out either later today, tomorrow, or a bit later in the week, but it'll be out this week. So do have a look at that. Thanks so much, everyone, for joining us. We're pretty much running out of time there. Yeah, Tom, thanks for joining me. Good luck with your decisions for Game Week 13. We'll be back next week with our team reveal. We'll also be back next week to reveal who is going to be goals and assists imminent. Also, we're going to be back this week with a look at the captaincy, as we just spoke about. Thanks for joining us. Good luck with the game week. We'll see you again next week. See you again a bit later in the week. Take care. See you soon.
Thanks, Joe.